That is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange eons even death may die. Bitch. That's right, I'm talking about 1666, I'm talking about the Necronomicon, and I'm talking about Call of Cthulhu, one of my absolute favorite role-playing games. This game is fantastic. This is the, I believe, 5th edition. Yes, it says right here. 5th edition of the game. You can get this on Amazon. You can get this on eBay. You can probably get this in the used section of your local game store. I had to purchase 2 copies of it. The number one fault with this game is the actual book is a piece of shit. The binding is very terrible. The first copy I had, not even like overly read or anything of that nature. It just completely fell apart. Completely fell apart. Had to buy a new copy. I mean, it was just a collection of pages with no binding left. And as you can see, not a great binding. I believe actually the first copy I had also was 5th edition. It might have been 4th edition, but I believe it was this one. These shipped. I paid for this replacement copy, I think like $7 or $8 shipped. So it's very, very affordable to pick these up. From edition to edition, I don't even know if there's any real difference. Maybe you might not want to get like the 1st or 2nd edition. They probably have fixed some of the small little problems, but it's not like Dungeons and Dragons or White Wolf or a game where they have substantially overhauled the system, because you barely have a system in this game. It's a very simplified version of basic role playing. It's put out by Chaosium. It's an absolutely excellent game. Created by Sandy Peterson and Lynn Willis. Wonderful job on this game. This particular book was copyrighted in 1995, the year I graduated from high school. Let me just talk a little bit about some of the crunch that's in here, and then I'm going to get into the theme of this. Now, for those of you that don't know, Call of Cthulhu it's a role-playing game based on the works of my favorite writer, H.P. Lovecraft. If you don't know who H.P. Lovecraft is, Google him, hit a Wikipedia page, go on Amazon, go on eBay, and buy some of his books. If you like horror, he's the best horror writer of all time. He wrote and created an entire genre of horror, utterly amazing stuff about insanity. It's sort of religious-based horror, the things that we do not know, we cannot understand, the ineffable cosmic horrors that seek to come back again. It's about the truth and the reality of the universe, and it postulates essentially a religion, and one that's very plausible. It's plausible, if not more so than any real-world religion, and really makes a great case for this sort of cosmic anger that these entities have, that exists sometimes even outside of space-time, outside of our universe, in different forms and different fashions, and essentially really what is God. And you can read a lot into what Lovecraft creates with these stories. Just absolutely excellent. And his mind was of tremendous ideas. I have read every single one of his stories, his poetry. I'm a huge fan of his. I've read tons of stuff from other people in the mythos. Very few of the stories are anywhere near as good as Lovecraft. There's some collaborative stuff with Lovecraft and a lot of wholly new ideas. In fact, you could go out and write mythos stories right now. A lot of the stuff is essentially open to anyone to take it, outside of H.P. Lovecraft's actual characters, the gods and such. You can write in that vein. Many, many people have done that. This game has a very simplified VRP system of Chaosium. Now, you have different roles for stats. Basically, it says right here, I'll just read it to you. To save time, be content with the characteristics rolled, or discard them immediately and reroll. Keep rerolling your character. Roll it 1,000 times. You get all your stats up perfect. It doesn't matter at all. In Call of Cthulhu, if you are a min-maxer, if you are a power gamer, if you're trying to beat the game master of the system, you are playing the wrong game. You are fragile and weak, and you should be trembling and terrified, and you will be once you come into contact with the unspeakable horrors that the game master's mind is dredged up and is putting into you. Like I always like to say, like role-playing games, kind of like walking around in the game master's mind, and if they know how to do Cthulhu right, that's a vista you do not wish to see. It is a game that really should have you scared for your character. And if you invest in your character, if you make a connection to him, if you put time and energy, if you make that character believable and real as you can, boy, you have that, you don't lose your character, but you know you're probably going to, and that's probably the nicest fate because death is a kindness in the Cthulhu game. Because there are far, far worse things that can happen. And the amount of things that can happen, the sanity that you acquire your Cthulhu mythos, that it bores into your head and eats your brain and eats your sanity and eats all those nice daydreams that you used to have when you were a child, when you thought the world was something kind and sane and rational and logical. No, you are a deluded fool. But now you see the truth, and you can never, ever go back to the other way, and that is what is so riveting about the Call of Cthulhu game. That is so wonderful. You get to make a real normal person, and then just watch them get crushed and destroyed. Because in H.P. Lovecraft's writing, it's usually starting out with somebody either in an insane asylum, or that we know clearly after the first page is no longer with us. But we go back and we see what horrible events led to that, you know. That's how the game goes, or that's how the story of Lovecraft goes. Now, typically a game isn't in that fashion. Not, okay, we died, now let's role play through and see how we died. Although you could do that, and it would be kind of interesting. I haven't played in that vein. Perhaps someone has. If you have, you know, hit a comment on that, how you liked. Already knowing you know you were dead. At the start, I did run a game one time that started off vaguely like that, and was told backwards. But for dice rolls, you have strength, size, power, appearance, sanity, luck, constitution, intelligence, dexterity, education, ID, and no. And these rolls, actually I didn't know are not rolls. They're just multiplied. You pretty much have to just roll them right down. I mean, you could probably, it doesn't really matter. So, if a game master, as a game master me, as long as it wasn't, too low, like you're like, oh, if you put a 3 in my intelligence, you're sitting there drooling on yourself and you have 30 IQ. You're like as smart as a dog. That isn't going to work. And the stats are rolled with different numbers. I'm not going to go through all the combinations of them. But they're rolled with different combinations. So you're supposed to theoretically go through, some of them are the same, but just to go through and roll them right down the list. But, as long as it's still within that range, I don't see any reason you couldn't swap stats around. And again, right there it says, your character if you don't like him. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, man. It's just the character you've created to play, So it's conceptual, and it's kind of like White Wolf in that fashion. It's all about the concept that you have, and they call it occupation in this game. And in this game, they call the game master the keeper. It doesn't matter. You're always a game master. You're always a referee, whatever. It doesn't really presuppose anything else on you other than they like to have the word keeper instead of storyteller or game master or dungeon master or whatever. It's the same deal. Here's you what a character sheet looks like in this, and then I will talk a little bit about the other parts of it. And Call of Cthulhu games are generally put into 3 categories: 1890s, 1920s, and modern day. Now, in this book it says 1990s, so some things are a little off, but again, even that doesn't really matter. You can get through all that. But playing a game in the 1920s is very different. You have to do a little bit of work outside the book to get the history. Go read on various sites, Google some things up, watch some old movies or documentaries about the 20s or film footage, from that time period, and develop an idea of actually what it was like. There are no cell phone pagers. Even some very simplistic questions sometimes get asked, like, are there trunks on cars? And those are the sort of things that you're going to have, and then in the 1890s, even more so, it's Cthulhu by gaslight. It's a different deal. It's a different feel, and these things can be very cool because they're isolating. Cell phones, convenience, contact with the outside world in an easy situation can take away the heart. Now, there's all kinds of ways you can get around that. You can even use those tools for your advantage. But basically, describing how to run horror games is not what I'm going to do here. Might put a video out on that. I love horror games. Horror is the best genre, in my estimation, for games. If you can really actually get people for just even a second, that really rocks. It's quite awesome. Yeah, but I digress, and I will show you. I just randomly the 1920 character sheet here, and as you can see, there's all these skills, and you get points, and from your occupation, you're going to get certain points. Some of them you have some points in, like drive auto. Everyone has a 20% chance in that. Basically, you want to roll, and you'd roll under your 20% or under. You succeed, over, you fail. Every time you succeed at a skill roll, you would put a little check beside it, and then in very light pencil at the end of the game, how you get your experience is whatever skills you use successfully, you go through, and you make a roll. And now you want to fail. You want to roll above your score, and if you do, you get to roll. You get to add, I think, a D10 or a D6 additional points, which you roll, and you just add right on that skill because you've learned it, you've been using it, now you're better at it. And as you can obviously see from that, doing a little basic math, the higher your skill is, the harder it is to fail that roll. Essentially, the harder it is to acquire any additional points. And or you might say, oh, well, it might be kind of easy to try to use all your skills in any simple fashion and get those rolls. Yeah, it is. So your character gets a tiny bit more powerful. Doesn't really matter. So it's not an issue. The amount of power your character has is not much. You do not want to be taking on servitor races from the Cthulhu mythos, and you certainly aren't ever going to tangle with gods. For those that like very, very powerful sort of characters, let me actually find this. I kind of have something in front of me right now I wanted to show you, but we'll come back to it. And I will find the most epic, the most renowned, the truest, the most utter aspect of the game, and I will show it to you. And here he is. That's right. Cthulhu, of course, it's old black and white style art. The art is nowhere near as impressive as it is in the D20 version. However, it's still quite evocative of the setting. It'll give you those ideas. Looking through the bestiary here, looking through the gods, you can generate all sorts of ideas if you've read Lovecraft, if you understand horror, if you know how to game master this sort of thing. It's just a plethora of ideas right off the bat. This book actually also has some modules in it. I've never run a Call of Cthulhu module, although I have played a few of them. Not the ones in this book, though. Let me see here. I want to get the actual number right. So, for those of you that are used to monsters doing hit points and damage, or playing Dungeons & Dragons, having a character, yeah, I can take the dragon on. This is how Cthulhu deals with your monkey ass. Now, you will go, oh, well, my character, did Cthulhu hit, and did he? No. There's none of that. There's not, did Cthulhu hit you, or did you take enough damage? No, this is what happens. If you're unlucky enough to meet Cthulhu, each round, a D3 investigators are scooped up in Cthulhu's flabby claws and die hideously. Not Cthulhu rolls to hit you, not Cthulhu rolls to do damage to you. He just eats a D3 of you every round. And that is in addition to the utter mind-melting horror that the rest of you that happen to get away are going to sustain. But a D3 player characters per round are killed. There's no other roll. It's just roll a D3. Oh, you guys, this side of the table is dead. And we're going to get away. Yep, round number 2. This side of the table is dead now. And that's how it happens when you deal with Cthulhu. Now, certain other races of monsters are less potent things than Cthulhu themselves are manageable. You might be able to combat them. You might be able to beat them in a spot of way. You might be able to take a double-barrel shotgun and air condition a nugget. You might be able to do that. I've done that in games. But really, after you start getting outside the cultists, you got to get creative. You got to get, collapsing minds, things like that to really get over on them because it's really hard stuff. They do have details on the dreamlands in here and on the horror. They do have animals and, lighter, easier things to beat like werewolves and vampires. Yeah, you can have one of the game masters, she ran, Cthulhu Kelly, who probably watches, so one of the light adventures she put was up against a werewolf. Now, we're supposed to be really horrifying and scary, but not to us. My character was insanely deranged by that point, and her now husband Wayne was playing my character brother, his third character he brought in, and you know, we're these Irish guys. We're in England, and we're making cracks. Oh yeah, you know, the Irish accents. And, you know, thank God it was only an English werewolf, because it would have been tough if it was an Irish one, but just an English werewolf. So that was one of the lighthearted games. Yeah, when we were also the lighthearted stuff, the other things are really, really bad, and they are really, really bad. Cthulhu, and that's what really makes the game awesome. You can see, you know, some of the characters there. You know, these are from my favorite Cthulhu story, Dreams of the Witch House. I recommend that you read that now. Just read it now. And you know, let me know what you think about it after having immediately read that. Oh yes. Pigment, yeah. From Pigment's model. I really liked Pigment's model. I thought that was quite a good one as well. There's Inspector Legrossi, the cop of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu, the actual story is not that good. It's not one of Lovecraft's better stories. Yeah, Wilbur Whateley, his father, from Dunwich Horror. Yeah, I mean, I can go on and on. I absolutely love this stuff. So, you know, let me know what your favorite Call of Cthulhu story is. Let me know what your favorite H.P. Lovecraft story is. Let me know any of the other writers that you like in the Lovecraft genre. Let me know, you know, any other, you know, particular books you might like outside of what Lovecraft wrote in the Lovecraft mythology you thought are particularly good. I'm actually probably going to pick a few more up some point soon. And, but this book, like I said, you can probably pick it up for less than $10. This is a must-have for your gaming collection. If you like horror, if you like having a fragile character, if you like having to really use your mind and come up with creative ideas, if you like the idea of investigating, if you like the idea of, you know, researching the library as opposed to going out and fighting with things, to having those, you know, detailed conversations, or you have a little bit of that sort of more mystery mixed in with some pulp horror, mixed in with having a game where you are fragile and you will break, and not just your body but your mind, and that to me is really, really cool. So if you haven't seen it before, check it out. If you have any questions about it, post them below and I will answer them. And thanks for watching, guys.